Okay, so we're looking at this whole conversational understanding, being able to get how to create this thing called an imaginary world, right? Now, there's a lot of materials that I'm working to put into order and working through. But I can give you an absolute glimpse on how to be able to achieve this with some ability to be able to, there's this palability. You know what a palability is, or a tangibility, or a muscle feeling, like you feel like some days, there could be a weight to you, right? There's no weight to you, right? It's not that you're tired from weightlifting. It's not that you're tired from doing exercises. It's an emotional weight. Right? This is sort of the whole construct of what we're looking at with this example of this imaginary world, right? Designing and creating your own imaginary world. Now, this is obviously important for many different people, including set designers, because you're working to be able to design and craft an imaginary world that an artist, an actor, hopefully an artist that is an actor, they can spark that thing inside of themselves, and then they can have all these supportive elements within their imaginary world that can then even further amplify the transparency of them coming out of themselves emotionally to be able to experience. Right? This is the whole point. This is the whole creative plight. This is the ability of trying to work with and build up the whole imaginary world. This is the entire whole thing about what's so key and so exciting about all these new different ventures in digital lands and all this other stuff having to do with whatever you want to call them, these digital worlds that people are creating for themselves. So, and video games, all that. So you could literally take this whole construct, and you imagine this situation where you've got this swimming pool, right? You've got this swimming pool, and you have this buoyancy that's in the swimming pool. Now, I have always described this as this is the imaginary world or imaginary circumstance, right? That is this supportive, safe zone for the artist to be able to enter into with a spark of their own emotion, and they can enter into this with this tremendous spark, whatever they decide to do creatively, and they end up entering this supportive zone. So it's just like a swimming pool. You're entering into a situation where you can both exercise and also you can have exploration. It's a safety zone, this imaginary circumstance. Nobody quite knows what you've emotionally prepared on unless you've told them. I'm inviting you to literally utilize me as your secret acting bullet. Ask me some really good questions. See how I answer. And then consider how you can use what you think yourself and what I say consistently, so that you can then build out your own acting technique. Nobody quite knows what you've emotionally activated on. So you've got this ability and this freedom emotionally to have this swimming circumstance of being engulfed in a safe way in this imaginary world, in this imaginary circumstance. So you can find deeper and deeper and deeper artistic expression. Now look, I wish that there's a lot more of what I just described actually out there and being done. I don't see a lot of it. I see some of it, but I don't see a lot of it, because the thing is a lot of people are performance-based, and there's a lot of value in different performances, don't get me wrong, but there is a limitation in terms of some of it as well, because when you focus on initially being able to work with the emotional activation, when you focus on the ability to actually have an emotion activated, not just a feeling that's just an instinct, or not just something that you've chased down and you can't really, it doesn't stay with you. You're wanting to work with something that's actually something that's in relationship to you. There's an emotional relationship that's developed in you. There's something that, at least at that time, where at that moment, there's something that's emotional that is actually in you and is activated. right? It's not something that maybe defines who you are necessarily, but in that moment, it definitely colors yourself. And it's not something that's leaving you quickly and then coming back and then leaving you quickly and coming back. That's a feeling that just comes and goes, which is fine to have in your work because that can create a lot of ebb and flow within your imaginary world. But that's an artistic note, right? We're looking at how to be able to create the imaginary world. So we're dealing with how to be able to have that construct in yourself that you know the difference between a feeling, which could be something that comes and goes, and an emotion, which is something that actually stays with you because it's activated. You've activated something that's real inside of yourself, right? So we work with this construct, and then we can look at this whole technique that you can build up for yourself. And the technique is to literally envision the fact that every time you work, you're like diving into an imaginary circumstance. You're diving into a pool. You're diving into a safe zone of expression. You're diving into an ability to be able to literally have this transparency within and coming from yourself, right? So I would suggest that you absolutely, and by the way, when I remember this now, boop the like button if you would. It would be very appreciative. And share this with your friends to ask them this question. How do they create imaginary circumstances? How do they create their imaginary world? How do they create the construct of it? And then discuss some of these points. Because I'll tell you something, this has helped a lot of people over the years. Some of these techniques go back hundreds of years. So it's just a matter of how artists work to be able to define themselves, right? There's constructs that you can do that can keep the ability of your expression open so you're in constant relationship with the imaginary world. So this is why I'm saying, just imagine yourself going into a pool. You're diving into the imaginary world. You're supported. You're not going to hurt yourself. This is something that you're going to be able to further your expression and your exploration. So you're going to have self-discovery, which is key. And then you're going to be able to have this experience. There are these programs that I use that are capable of doing these things like cartooning or like whiteboarding or drawing or sketches of you. So what you can do is you can use those cartoons. Work with the, activations. When you invite those feelings in, you get the moment of activation, you get the feeling, you get the expression, something comes out of you a little bit extra than just your facial, expression, or there's a little bit extra thing just behind it. And this element, well, then you can work with these things called these cartoon things, these programs, and the links are in the description. And it will actually amplify your emotion a little bit more within your thumbnails. And then when you come out of that pool of the imaginary world, then you're going to be able to come out of that pool. Now, if you need to go back right into it because you need to go do another take, then there's some techniques that you want to work with to be able to keep yourself alive, active, and there's layering techniques in emotional preparation, and there's definitely techniques that I teach and definitely work having to do with, what's it called? It's when you simmer your emotional preparation. You come out of the pool and you kind of just like put a towel around yourself and you keep yourself warm until you need to go back in again. So you're doing that with an emotional blanket. You're looking at this with an emotional blanket. You're looking at this so that you can consistently keep yourself warmed up in the areas that you're going to continue to explore. But when you're completely done, 4 takes, 5 takes, 3 takes, whatever it is, with your imaginary circumstances, and then you completely come out and you're absolutely done with the scene, with that particular emotional strand that you need to have warmed up and activated in you, then you want to take the steps of actually stepping out of that emotion. You want to take the steps of actually debriefing yourself from that emotional experience. Now, if you think to yourself, Or, there's all types of different therapy exercises having to do with physical therapy that people would suggest doing in pools rather than doing in air, because there's support of the water that's around the muscles and the joints and their ability to be able to have the physical therapy benefits of the exercise in this supported area. Now, if you transfer that kind of thinking into your artistic world, oh man, you're going to thrive. You're going to thrive because now you're in a situation where you've actually catapulted yourself into this ability that you're going to have more support within and more confidence within yourself. You're going to be able to activate that in your acting and in your artistic world so that you can actually expand what it is that you're trying to do. Working with talent is not working with somebody else's talent. It's working with the talents that are actually inside of you. So this is the reason why some people will say, well, they want to work with such and such an actor, or they want to work with this actor, because every single time those actors work, they're working from within themselves. They're actually pulling something that's actually real from within themselves, and they're actually putting that into their work. Now, I'm working with all of these different videos, and I'm encouraging you to ask me acting questions, not because of me, because I want to see literally massive amounts of creative growth that are now capable because of a lot of the different changes in technology. This technology that you have to be able to do creations and to be able to do videos and be able to set up studios in places that it would have taken a lot more effort to do in the past is now an opportunity for the next decade, maybe even two, where you can actually be able to really be able to work on your craft of acting and be able to have platforms to be able to release your talent. So join me, however you wish to join me, ask me good questions, and understand that your talent is actually something that's locked inside of you that you need to find the keys to be able to discover. Now look, we're at the end of the video, and I want to be very, very clear. I would be doing you a disservice if I didn't tell you this. This is absolutely key. You want to be able to do this work, be very alive, very alert, very deep. You want to work with your emotions. It can be very jarring for your emotional life, right? You have all of these incredible experiences. But after you're done working, you absolutely need to learn techniques that get you to not have that being re-stimulated in your life, so that you can go and you can live your life. This is part of being a healthy artist, healthy actor. So I encourage you to explore my techniques and various different ways that you can get rid of your emotion after you're done working. You don't need your emotion anymore at that moment to be activated. You just need to be able to be free from it.